everyone, a very warm welcome. I'm really excited to be hosting this session today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sharon Johnston. We're here to share something that I think many of you will genuinely connect with, and that's our plans for this year's Women in Leadership Awards and Recognition event, taking place on the 11th of November at the beautiful Midland Hotel in Manchester. So over the next 20 minutes or so, I'd like to share a bit about the background and the evolution of CCA's Women in Leadership programme, the impact it's had on individuals and our wider network, why we invite you to join us in supporting Women's Aid, a review of last year's event, what we've got planned for 2025, why these awards exist and what they truly celebrate, the judging process, how to build a winning submission, the award categories, how you can nominate, and then finally, a call to action to ensure that you're part of something truly meaningful. Now, this isn't just another awards programme, it's also a space to connect and reflect and to be inspired, and we would love for you all to be part of it. And just as importantly, this session reflects who CCA is and what we stand for. We're a leadership partner, a network builder, and a trusted voice championing people, purpose, and progress. And these sessions are part of a broader ongoing commitment to influence and elevate the people that are shaping the future of service and experienced leadership. So the Women in Leadership journey at CCA began over a decade ago, way back in 2014, and I actually didn't appreciate that myself until I started looking back on our files as I was preparing for today's session. So our first event was an intimate roundtable lunch that was set up to encourage honest, thoughtful discussion about representation, influence, and equity in leadership. Some of the questions that we asked, that we tabled at that event, I think are still very relevant today. Are women's voices really shaping strategy? Is there enough diversity at the top? And how do we create spaces where women feel seen, heard, and supported? Over the years, we've built this into a really meaningful programme. So from those early informal networking events to structured events and online sessions that we support today, we've consistently held space for women to come together to explore the highs and the lows of leadership. This past year, we've hosted powerful online sessions covering topics including imposter syndrome and what authentic leadership looks like. They're not just webinars, they are open, honest conversations that have helped many of us feel less alone and more confident. Just as an example, in one of the sessions that we ran earlier this year, we ran a poll. There was probably around 80 or 90 people on the session. 97% of attendees said that they believed they were suffering from imposter syndrome. So that was almost everybody in that virtual room, in that Zoom meeting. But by the end of the session, once we'd unpacked what imposter syndrome really is, how it shows up, how it makes us feel, that number had almost halved. And the shift that we just explained there is exactly why this programme matters. What many were actually describing as imposter syndrome turned out to be something more familiar, a lack of confidence, the occasional self-doubt, or simply that pressure that we put ourselves under to be perfect. Giving those feelings a name, creating a space to talk about them, and hearing others say, I feel the same as you, it just gives way to something a bit more powerful. It adds perspective and it gives permission and connection to actually talk about the way that we're feeling. And it reminded us that we're not alone and that those moments don't diminish our talent or our impact or our worth. So the next session, the next online Zoom session is on the 24th of September, and we'll explore resilient leadership and setting boundaries. It's free for CCA members. It's supportive. It's a great way to connect with others who understand the pressures and the joys of leading today. And as it says on the screen there, all of those Zoom sessions are facilitated by Kate Adams. So Whilst the awards programme is about celebration and growth, I think it's important that we also stay a bit more grounded. We all know in this session today that not every woman is in a position to step into leadership or even into safety. And that's why we've decided to support Women's Aid. So for every ticket sold for the awards lunch in November, we'll donate a portion of that ticket price to support women and children that are affected by domestic abuse. When you take a step back and look at the numbers, it's actually quite staggering. 2.3 million people experienced domestic abuse in the past year, but most of them don't report it. And of those who do, just 5% of the recorded offences result in conviction. Now, I think it's really important to note that while this is a gendered issue, we recognise that abuse can affect anyone, regardless of gender. Now, these are quite staggering numbers, and they remind us why lifting each other up is really so important. Life can be challenging, we all know that. Our support through this activity of Women's Aid, it might not change the world, but it just might change somebody's life and help them take a step forward for the better. In 2024, this is just some of the photographs that we have from that day. This was our first in-person Women in Leadership event since the pandemic, with a celebratory lunch at the Midland Hotel. It was a really fantastic day, very reflective in terms of the conversation, and there was probably around 60 or 70 people that attended. And for the first time, we also launched the Women in Leadership Awards programme, as I mentioned earlier, with the same credibility and rigour around the judging process that applies to CCA Excellence Awards. Now, these awards are not just about high-profile titles or senior leadership roles. It's about celebrating integrity, authenticity, and impact. Winners are judged by peers and industry colleagues, people who've seen leadership in action and know what good looks like. So the response to last year's programme was really fantastic. And because of the enthusiasm, and we actually just had quite a lot of fun, actually, we knew that we had to do something a bit bigger this year. So, the 11th of November, 2025. First and foremost, the event is about a celebration of the incredible women that are shaping the future of leadership. And at its heart is the announcement of the 2025 Women in Leadership Award winners. But it's also our moment as a group and as a network to shine a spotlight on those who are leading with courage, creativity, and care that's required in today's organisations. But we also want to add a little bit more to the day. So we will kick off with a transformative workshop, and I think that's the only word that I can use to describe Emma. Emma Bell is a leadership coach. She's known for her work around resilience, self-care, and shifting mindsets. And she doesn't just deliver content, she changes how you actually feel. I know it might sound a bit crazy, but I know that you'll leave that session not just inspired, but you'll have a clearer head, you'll feel calmer, and you'll be more focused on what matters most. So the plan is that we kick off with a really positive and hopeful start to the day. And from there, we'll move into a celebratory afternoon hosted by Kay Adams. So again, expect heartfelt conversations, thought-provoking debate, and a powerful moment when we unveil and celebrate this year's award winners. There'll be a beautiful lunch, panel discussions on leadership, vulnerability, and growth, the awards ceremony itself, and then at the end of the day, we'll have the chance to just reflect and toast the winners. Everybody is welcome. So whether you're nominating someone, whether you're attending with a colleague or perhaps supporting a nominee, or you just want to be part of the day, everybody is welcome. So why do these awards matter? The quotes on screen, these were taken from some of the award winners, some of the judging panel from the programme last year. The awards are very much at the heart of this activity, but they're not about status, visibility, or job titles, as I've mentioned. They're about the values and the courage and the contribution. And we want to recognise women who lead with authenticity, lift others up, and challenge the norms. Those that are perhaps breaking new norms around digital transformation, mentoring people behind the scenes, or creating space for other people to actually shine. So raise visibility where it's due. We're here to shine a spotlight on the people who are making a difference, especially those whose work might go unrecognised in traditional leadership spaces, which we know happens quite often. Elevate the real stories of leadership, not just job titles or high-profile roles, but authentic experiences of growth, resilience, influence, and courage. Stories that really inspire and reflect the true nature of leadership today. Reinforce also that recognition isn't a luxury. It should be a must-have. It's a really powerful driver of self-belief, confidence, and energy. When someone is seen and celebrated in the organisation, it really does help build momentum, not only for them, but for everybody that sits around them. So this is your opportunity to shine a light in someone who makes a difference, someone whose leadership has left a mark, perhaps on you personally, not just in outputs, but how they make people feel. And that's so important. Entries close at midnight on the 5th of September. Entry is free for CCA members to nominate, and tickets for the lunch event, the actual event on the 11th of November, prices start at £295 per person. So in terms of the judging process, I think I mentioned that we will be following the same sort of rigour and process that we use for the Excellence Awards. So that means each submission will be reviewed by 2 independent judges from our panel. That ensures that each submission gets a fair and consistent evaluation. We add those scores together, and the submissions that score the highest are then moved into the shortlist. If shortlisted nominees are then invited to a short Zoom or Teams interview with a third judge to discuss the content of the nomination. And then once we have that third score, we add that to the first 2, look at all the feedback from the judges, and it's the categories that are floating to the top, the nominations that are floating to the top that actually pick up the award for that particular category. After the event, every nominee will also receive the feedback from the judges, and this is really designed to help you grow from the process. It allows you to be able to reflect on how you've pulled the submission together and use that to help strengthen any future submissions. So when it comes to producing a great submission, we've got some top tips that we'd like to share. So the first one, read the entry criteria carefully. Take the time to understand what each category is really looking for. Make sure that the nominee, or if you're putting yourself forward for it, your own story aligns well with the purpose of that award. And that really helps to ensure that the submission lands with the judges, because they'll have the same criteria as you. It lands it in the right context and sets you up for success right from the start. Find somebody great and celebrate them. So this is your moment to spotlight somebody quite exceptional. Again, if it's yourself and you're ready to be seen, then that's fantastic. But don't be afraid to show off their brilliance. Think of the submission as a story, not just a list of achievements. What makes that person special? What is their impact? Be expressive and heartfelt about how you pull that submission together. Use evidence and examples. The strongest submissions bring a story to life with detail. So instead of simply stating she's a great mentor, explain why she's a great mentor and how. Include results, moments of change, testimonials, or maybe some quotes, anything that shows tangible impact. Specifics help the judges connect emotionally and logically to the submission. It's also important to stick to the word count. We do allow a little flexibility, but please do try and stay within the limit. It's not just about creating a rule for rule's sake. It's about trying to help you communicate clearly and effectively within, I think it's 1,000 words for each category. Be intentional with your words and don't be afraid to cut what doesn't serve the message. Avoid attachments. So all the important detail should be in the main submission. We won't be reviewing attachments, so don't rely on them to carry the story. Keep it all in one place and use the space to full effect. Have somebody else review it. It's almost another judge calls that the so what test. So another pair of eyes can be incredibly helpful. Ask a trusted colleague or a friend to read it. Are they moved by it? Does it make sense? Would they vote for that person that you're nominating? Honest feedback will really help you sharpen your message and make sure that you haven't missed anything that's really important. And you know, take a risk. This is your chance to be bold. Celebrate the impact you or your nominee have had. Own the story, be proud of it, and let the passion come through. If you don't put them or yourself forward, who will? And believe in what's been achieved and let the judges see that too. So in terms of the categories for 2025, they are all available to, the application forms for each of those categories are available to download from the CCA website, but there's also a PDF document which you can see there on the right-hand side, which you can download. And within that document, there's a short sort of description for each of those categories that should help you decide, right, is that the right category or not? There is somebody in your team, in your circle, or in your organisation that should be recognised. Don't assume that somebody else will nominate them. And you know, it could also be a partner that you work with, a third party organisation. Why not? If that person has genuinely had a positive influence on your business or on your team or on you personally, then why not nominate them? So just finally, on a call to action, how you can get involved. Enter or nominate. The process is simple and we're here to support you. If you have at any point through the process got any questions, unsure of what might work, what might not work, get in touch with myself, get in touch with Katie, Pauline, Eva, any of the team. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Make sure you book your place at the event. Places are limited, and I do believe that you will experience something that will genuinely stay with you on the 11th of November. And also spread the word, share it with your team, share it with your wider network and anyone else that you think would enjoy being part of this. So thank you again for being here today. And just imagine, right? So we've got the sunshine this weekend and we're all looking forward to that. But November will be here before we know it. It'll be cold, it'll be dark, it'll be pouring with rain. But just if you put this in your diary, just know that we've got something fantastic to look forward to in a beautiful space, having great conversations, celebrating each other and supporting other women who might be facing unimaginable challenges. We'd love you to be part of it. Please remember to sign up for the session on the 24th of September. If you're not a member, I mentioned that the session's free for CCA members, but if you're not a member and you're interested in coming along, then drop me an email and I'll make sure that we send you the link. And just be bold with your submissions. Absolutely go for it is all I can say. Thank you so much, and I do hope that we'll all see you in November. Thank you.